Welcome to the May 13th OpenJ9 community call. As always, please add your name and affiliation to the list of attendees in the agenda. You can find a link to the agenda from our Slack, and it's usually posted in the planning channel at least the morning of the call. And then afterwards, I will get the recording up onto YouTube. It usually takes me about a day to do that, but you can find recordings afterwards there. I'll pause here at this point, just open things up for any community questions or concerns that people want to raise. Also, if you have something that you're thinking about or you'd like to tack onto the agenda, you can add it into the any other business section as well. This week, we're fortunate to have a lightning talk from Shelley and Sophia around GitHub Actions. So if they're ready, I will let them take over screen sharing. We'll do the lightning talk.
Thanks, Dan. Sophia will share her screen since she'll be doing most of the work today. I'm just going to intro some of this and introduce Sophia into it. So Sophia, if you want to share the slides, that'll be great. So I guess the background, as Sophia brings up the slides, we've been looking at GitHub Actions, and actually Sophia created an action called Run Aqua, which allows you to run any of the testing that you currently can run locally on your laptop, or also in a Jenkins grinder or in our nightly Jenkins runs across many Jenkins servers. You now will be able to run those in an action. What Sophia then proceeded to do was created a couple of actions to allow you to build, in this case, OpenJ9. And she also has one that she's created that allows you to build Hotspot or OpenJ9. So, and she'll talk about why they're different. But I do want to, if we back up to the first slide, Sophia, I do want to just mention I know lots of people on the call here are already familiar with GitHub Actions, but some of you may not be. So I do want to just mention the background of it, what it kind of very quickly means. It means you can automate your workflow straight out of your own branch, or we can do that as a project-wide effort. But ultimately, it comes down to in a .github directory, inside a workflows directory, if you add some YAML, you're going to be able to automate part of your workflow if you want. And that workflow can be triggered by any GitHub event. So typically, what we're going to show is on a push. If you push something to your branch, it could trigger some follow-on action to happen. But if an issue was created, edited, if labels were created, deleted, if projects were changed, if something was marked as a release, any one of those GitHub events, and there are hundreds, can trigger a workflow to occur. And so that has implications later if we want to talk about if an issue goes stale, we could have it automatically delete the issue or that kind of thing. Lots of ways you can take advantage of GitHub Actions. And in the free tier, GitHub hosted runners are available, up to 20 consecutive runners for the no pay option. And the platforms that are available to run on are Windows, Ubuntu, Xbox, and then Mac. So not the full set of platforms we need to support in OpenJ9, but certainly a good solid set that would let us trigger testing across those three platforms and see where we're at. And I just have that screenshot. If you look at your particular branch through a browser, you can see that there's a tab called Actions, and then it actually can be populated if you happen to have that .github /workflows directory with YAML in it. So I'm going to pass it over to Sophia now and let her dig into what, oh, actually I should mention, she will be demoing or talking about 5 different GitHub actions today. But the 2 that we want to focus on are the build JDK OpenJ9 one and the run Aqua one. Right, Sophia, go for it.
Okay. Okay, so so those are the actions we will mention today, but I will focus on the build JDK OpenJ9 and the run Aqua. Build JDK OpenJ9 it's actually the initial version are still in my personal repo. It is supported the Ubuntu and Mac and a different JDK version. It's similar story as what we how we build the OpenJ9 in internal or in the Eclipse OpenJ9, which by default will use our extension repo and OpenJ9 OMR and the OpenJ9. We also support if developer are working on any one of those repo, we can build the OpenJ9 by developer's personal branch repo. The other one action is about test. It's run Aqua, which is also similar, exactly similar story when we run the test from the adopt OpenJDK test. This one is located in the official adopt OpenJDK community and also supported for the Ubuntu and the Mac. The similar test category as in the adopt OpenJDK test. It's we support the OpenJDK functional external system which can run against either GitHub runner default JDK or any GitHub action build JDK, like today we'll mention the build JDK OpenJ9, and run any pre-built JDK we can install either from the Zula or from adopt OpenJDK. So by default, run Aqua will use all the related master repo. Here we have listed all the related repos, but the next step will to do is support all the personal repo about those GitHub repos. So next, I'm gonna do the demo. Let people know how it works, how you can use it. So this is the build JDK OpenJ9 repo, action repo. So we can go to the action, see what we need to know to build the JDK. So normally we only need the thing is the version, which version you want to use, you want to build. The other one is, do you want to use the default repo or you want to use the developer's personal repo? How are we going to use it? So here is the example. Any GitHub repo, you can use it using your workflow file and tell the GitHub action which platform you want to run and the action itself and the input parameter. So now you can see it can run on the Ubuntu or the Mac. So we can also see it can print the build JDK. For the developer, so this is the example, like if I'm working on the OpenJ9 project, so I have my personal branch. If I want to build my personal JDK user GitHub action, So here's what I need to do. I need to tell the version and if you want to use your personal repo. So now you can see if I build. So which actually is consumed my personal branch and build the JDK. Next, we're going to demo something about the Run Aqua. So how we can use Run Aqua? Here's an example. We can combine the build JDK OpenJ9 action and use the Run Aqua action. This one I forgot to mention. For the build JDK OpenJ9, we do, except for the input, we also have the output, so which can be consumed by the next other action. So here for the build JDK OpenJ9, we actually output the build JDK, the image directory, so we can easily feed to the Run Aqua as a test JDK home. Then the other thing is same, like we run the build. I guess I forgot to mention the Run Aqua. Run Aqua action are similar. So how we can use it is action YAML file tell you what's the input. So for the Run Aqua, we need to know the JDK source. It's either like your pre-build or you use other action build or the default GitHub JDK, and you tell me the version. And the other thing, same as the adopt OpenJDK test, you tell me the build list, your target. And if you are using custom target, tell me the test case for the custom target. So we go back to similar the OS and the build JDK action. Then the Run Aqua action tell me what you are interested in. And then if the test failed, we can also upload the tester output. So it's similar to like we use the Jenkins. Similar for the developer, you can also use your own build JDK and run the interested test in the Run Aqua. We can also, like Run Aqua, use the install JDK, which actually, for this example, we use the install JDK action, which can grab the JDK from adopt community. Like we can grab the nightly build OpenJ9 JDK and run against the test. Here's an example about how we can use a customized customer target. Yeah, we can also use like if you already have some pre-built JDK and has the location HTTPS, we can also pre-install that one. Use the install JDK. This one is the example for the OpenJ9 archived JDK. We can install it and run against our test. Other example is it can also run against there's another action to set up Java, which actually grab the JDK from the Zula. We can also run against that JDK. And the default GitHub action, a GitHub hosted environment. So yeah, I think that's pretty much more what I want to show. The other thing is I put what I have demoed. If people are interested, you can use this the link to take a look. The other one is there's a similar build JDK, which use the story build the JDK from adopt OpenJDK build repo, which also support the either the OpenJDK or a hotspot or the OpenJ9. Yeah, that's pretty much from my side.
Great, thanks, Sophia. So I think, though that's a lot to absorb in a lightning talk, the examples are what the OpenJ9 team might find most helpful. So we've actually delivered some example workflow files into OpenJDK tests repo. They're commented out, but have a scan at those or follow any of these links that Sophia has shared and take a look at those workflow files if you want to start incorporating them into your own branches for testing out your changes. And a reminder that that means if you've changed anything in extensions or in OpenJ9 OMR or OpenJ9 repos, that can be built as part of that build OpenJ9 action that Sophia's demoed. That's it.
Thanks so much, Shelley and Sophia, for that talk. I think that's a really cool looking system. I was going to ask about how long the runners can run for, but clearly you're able to build the OpenJ9 JVM, so it must be running bull for a considerable length of time.
Yeah, I think we haven't hit the upper limit, but on that same note, since we're rolling out smart parallelization, if anyone joins the Aquavit meeting that starts directly after this one, we'll show how you can parallelize and run Sanity functional in 15 minutes.
So for this GitHub action, it takes about for the build OpenJ9 takes around 30 minutes for Ubuntu or the macOS. Test because I'm only showing like specific test
I did have a couple more questions, and I don't know if others have questions they wanted to ask as well. I was wondering, do you get a stable link out of a test result with the GitHub Actions? What I'm looking for is to be able to
one that you can go back to. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, you can. And the other thing to note is some of the work that Lan's doing around connecting TRSS up to Azure DevOps, which is what GitHub Actions runs on top of. We'll also be able to eventually monitor and show that those runs in an aggregated view alongside Jenkins runs in the same view. But yeah, there you can return. So those links that Sophia was sharing and that are in the slides are links to her runs.
Oh, that's great. It means that we have contributors who can be making changes and demonstrating the compiles work and pass on various platforms.
Yeah, and also you could put those in issues so that you could reference them even if someone didn't have access to run a grinder on Jenkins, they could run something in their own view and share.
Are there any other questions for Sophia or Lan?
I have a question. Well, not a question. I guess community call. I guess we currently use Travis CI as one of the automated CIs for automatically triggering tests for PR builds. Do we envision ourselves moving towards GitHub Actions, given that we can support the 3 different platforms? We can basically have full x86 coverage.
Certainly. Sorry, go ahead, Shelley.
I was just going to say, I put a note about this, but probably it deserves its own OpenJ9 issue just to have that discussion. Where could we leverage these? I think that's definitely one of the places that, you know, instead of Travis or alongside Travis, triggering something like this would be helpful.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing, that we have minimal use of Travis today and run into issues with long delays on those builds because of the shared nature across the organization.
Yeah, so maybe we open a OpenJ9 issue for this and talk about how we could do that.
Yeah, I think it would be great to get a broader issue and discussion around the different things we could be using actions for. I know, Philip, you've been exploring it at the OMR project as well.
Yeah, I was just going to say, if the OpenJ9 community is also interested, we have 3 GitHub actions that we're adding to Eclipse OMR. They're more not on the build side, more so on the kind of project management side. Things you mentioned, Shelley, the stale issue and PR labelers and automatic PR labelers based on the files that PR touches and things like greeters. And one of the big drawbacks that we found with GitHub Actions was the way they handle anything needing write access on the repository. So if you want to change anything, for example, add a label or something, you can't really do it with a GitHub action because those are read-only permissions on the tokens they provide to us. So there needs to be kind of various workarounds if we need any write access to a repo with GitHub actions.
So yeah, that's worth capturing. Maybe I'll create a OpenJ9 issue so we can talk about where we benefit the most from, or where the project could benefit without adding extra. I don't want to create a triage nightmare or anything, but I think there's some use cases that we could take advantage of. It's cool you've added them at the OMR project as well. I think we've taken up a lot of time. I'm going to have to drop it right at 11:30 for a follow-up meeting, Dan, but I'll update the adopt OpenJDK section.
Thanks, Shelley.
Thanks.
Just going to pull the agenda back up. And I'm in a similar situation. I need to drop it at 11:30 as well. So I'm just going to move through this list a little quicker than we normally would and ask if there's any areas people want to call out or any areas that need discussion today. Andrew commented on Slack that he's updated these are updated as well. Just a reminder of the next release coming up in July, and the code split is June the 7th, so we are getting very close to that. Please be focused on issues in that milestone plan so we can bring that down and close out particularly things that have been raised, are marked as user raised or are related to crashes. I'm sliding down if there are issues people want to call out. Devin, was there an update on the CMake migration?
Things are still kind of going as planned. From a functional point of view, the OS X CMake build should be all there. There's something with debug symbols that Keith is working on, and I'm working on some W error stuff, but in terms of functionality of the build, it should all be there.
Yeah, that's great to hear. And I see the target date of May 19 for that switchover. So, anyone, if you have concerns or are able to help along the way, please feel free to chime in or help out there as we get close to that cutover. Checking, Mark, are you on the call? Mention anything around the interim release proposal?
Yeah, just quickly. So we basically agreed that we're going to move forward with this proposal. We have some decisions to make now because we kind of ducked out of making concrete decisions around some of the, what is the actual frequency? How are we going to decide content, etc. There are some issues opened underneath that proposal that's listed there. Dan put a late comment in there with the links to them just to make it easy to find. I put a comment there, adopt, as I understand it, has already kind of discussed this and sort of agreed in principle, although we will have to make a more concrete proposal to them, I think, when we have a more concrete proposal of what it is that we want to do. That's kind of the next steps there.
Mark, the more concrete proposal, we had a bit of a talk, or an issue for the workflow created and an issue for PR build testing. Are there other areas that you mentioned frequency? Do you want to hammer out the frequency discussion in the workflow issue or in the current interim release issue?
We can do either. It doesn't really matter. I think maybe it would be best to keep that discussion in the current proposal, just because that's where the sort of broader discussion has been happening. So let's do it there. And if it gets to be too unwieldy, we can separate it off into another issue. But let's do it there for now.
Okay. All right. Given we only have 1 minute left before I need to drop for another call, I think we'll call this here today. I do ask that anyone who is interested take a look at the Kubernetes Helm and operator discussion that Raghu had started, and add any comments or questions into there as well. But at this point, let's call this meeting, and we can connect again next week or via Slack before then. So thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.